watch this. I've never seen this happen.
Wait, I'll get in there.
Okay, I'm trying to pick these little diamonds out with these tweezers.
Mm-hmm.
Why would it do that? I'm not blowing on it or anything.
What would that be?
I have no idea. They don't want to be messed with. Oh my God.
Bizarre.
I have never. Okay. That one did. Oh, this is so weird. Okay, this is my grandpa Presswood, Lloyd Kelly Presswood from Reliance, Tennessee. Playing the fiddle. I know for a fact because he never had a black leather case to carry in. It was toe sack. And toe sack, it makes it a fiddle. And this is my grandmother. They were married at the time. She's playing a harpsichord right there. She played the piano as well. And this is at the old home place in Reliance, Tennessee on Presswood Mountain. You know, like Walton's Mountain. But we have our own mountain. I didn't know that till recently. But
So how many generations were you on Presswood Mountain?
oh, they've done the genealogy, but it goes way back. I know that his father's father's father. I'm not sure because I know of at least 5 generations, and they're still living there, by the way. That was more bluegrass, mountain music. The Dixie Greyhounds did a little bluegrass blended in with the Bob Wills Texas Playboys type music. This was my mother's father, my grandfather. His name was Fred Edward Reither. Reithers were from Ohio, but this was in Texarkana, Texas. I think it was Texarkana's on the border of Texarkana and Arkansas.
And which one is your great?
My grandfather is this one, Grandpa. And they were playing the first broadcast of the radio station in Texarkana. First time they played live music over the radio. And this is Augustus Trehune. Augie for short. That I bought at the show. This is Boulder Opal. Can you see the green fire coming through it?
Oh yeah.
It's that cool. See the red and the green? The Boulder Opal is found in Australia, and it's found in this brown matrix rock, and you just have these veins of this black opal running through it, like right there, and it's just vivid orange, red, yellow, blues, greens. Anyway, I thought that was cool.
And what is this?
That?
Yeah.
Baltic amber.
From
The Baltic Sea.
the Baltic Sea.
I bought it in Rome. So as far as the design of the ring,
You know me. I trust you.
just do it.
Yeah.
Do you want it like relatively wide,
Yeah.
masculine? Okay, I know we took your size once before, but let's do that again.
All right. Okay.
Which finger are you gonna wear it on?
Oh, I don't know. Pick one.
Most people will wear about the same size shoe size on their ring fingers.
Oh. Well,
Now one hand will be about a quarter size difference than the other. But most of the time it's your shoe size. Now I can size it in between any of these.
that's comfortable.
Okay, just relax your hand. Just relax your finger.
I don't
Did
know
you feel how I started walking that off?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how you have to relax your hand, because when you stiffen your hand out, these tendons get stiff. And then when you start to pull, and it's down here, you start to pull it off, you're pulling those tendons and they're bunching up at where they're connected at the joint, and it won't let it come off. But if you relax it, they relax enough that you can walk it off like this, and you're letting some of those tendons go back down.
Excellent.
So that's the hand you're going to wear it on too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is a 14.
Excellent.
So my thought with this little black pearl, do you want to see the pearl?
Sure.
When you focus on it, I'm going to turn it so you can see the other color, because it reflects several colors. It's almost a
Okay.
reddish color. Watch it as I turn it over. Gets kind of green.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's going to be the bottom of it right there where that little hole is. There'll be a post coming up from the ring, so that's the top. That's the color you're going to see. And in the sunlight, it's almost a halo of this green floating around on the outside of this. It's just gorgeous. The lost wax method of casting is one way I make jewelry. A lost wax method means that whatever is going to come out in the middle is got to be carved or made out of wax first. And during the process of burning out the wax in the kiln, you lose the wax, and therefore that's why it's called the lost wax method of casting. You carve the wax, which the blue ring is a piece of wax or wax ring that I started with and then started building on and carving to. And as it ended up, I took wax from a block that I was working with, and I use a little alcohol lamp and just melt wax and drip it on the wax, and then I start getting the little tool hot and carve away some of the wax, and that's one of the, I just keep getting it until it's exactly what I want.
Now, how will that hold in there?
Well,
And that looks really nice, by the way.
is that looking there? It's good there. I like the openness right down in here that
me
really
too.
didn't have there, so I may create another one right over here. And then I'm going to build this around it, and then there'll be a little piece that'll come around this way that will come up over here. So when I have it, there'll be like two little prongs that come around it to hold it in place. trying to do is just make it look like it's a big swirl that just comes over there and holds. It doesn't look like a prong. The difference in the wax, the color of the wax, just will indicate to me how it melts. The yellow wax I was using will melt slower than the blue wax. Blue wax, when you melt it, it just almost immediately turns kind of watery. The yellow wax is a lot thicker and denser, and when it melts, it almost melts to a consistency of it melts real slow, so you can get it almost a consistency of honey. That's what you can use to build up, and that's how I did a lot of this, is that I would melt the yellow wax and kind of build it up, and as it dried, it would almost, if you could, like you're building a sandcastle. If you get wet sand, you can kind of drip it. But every different color, whether it's blue, yellow, red, it all melts at a different temperature, and it melts at a different consistency. And a Tahitian pearl, when it's cultured, you take the clam out of the ocean and you open its shell. You actually cut open the little place where the pearl is formed. You insert into there a seed, which is normally a mother of pearl bead of about 2 millimeters. You insert that into it, close the little clam back up, and a Tahitian pearl, these blue-lipped clams, have to then be put in some waters where they actually recuperate for a year before they ever put them out into other waters that are a little bit cooler, and to let them form the pearl. So for a Tahitian pearl, it takes several years for one to form, regardless of, and the bigger they are, the longer it takes. And this one is like an 8 millimeter.
Which would take how long?
Sometimes up to 2 years.
How would you care for that ring?
You don't ever want to, any kind of pearls, you don't ever want to soak in any kind of solution. I don't care what it is. Especially the hard, you don't ever want to use harsh cleaner on of any kind. Jewelry cleaner you don't ever want to use on a pearl. You can use something like Palmolive liquid, which is the best jewelry cleaner you can have. Palmolive liquid in an old soft toothbrush, or an old soft baby toothbrush. And you can, with warm water and that, you can clean it, but then run it under water and dry it off. But you don't ever want to leave it soaking in anything. Another reason you don't ever want to leave it soaking, most pearls are going to be glued onto the ring somehow, or earrings. Most pearls are in jewelry have been set, they've been drilled a little further than halfway into the pearl. It's called a half-drilled pearl. And a post will be sticking up from an earring or on a ring. Normally in a situation like this, they would have had a post coming up from somewhere in the ring. You glue it onto that post. And sometimes you have prongs coming around to hold it in addition to it, but a lot of times you don't. It's just glued onto that. So if you leave that soaking, if nothing else, it's going to loosen that glue and your pearl will fall out. To say nothing of the condition of the pearl, because pearl is a natural. I mean, a little clam or oyster has made that, and it's calcium. It's got calcium in it, but I mean, what it can do is dry out. So what you're going to end up doing is, this is going to be down in there, upside down, with this attached to it. And when you pour the gold or the silver in there, it sucks it down into that cavity that's left in there.
And you find joy in this?
Joy?
Joy.
In what?
In jewelry.
Oh, heavens, yes. Since I was about 10, it's when I first went to my first rock show and became a rock hound. In fact, when I was 10 is when I met several jewelers that later, when I was about 16, started teaching me how to set stones. And until then, anytime I would go to their store or go to the show, they'd have a mineral show in Houston once a year, and I'd just go down there and spend 4 days with them, and they'd teach me. But they also had stores in town, and they would just, anytime I wanted to, I could come by, and they would teach me more. And it was when I was about 16 they actually started teaching me how to set diamonds and how to do casting. And when I was 18 is when I really learned and started doing my own casting. I sprue that up, it's called, onto a little rubber base. So this ring had a piece of wax coming down to a rubber base. I put over, after I get that in there right, I put a piece of cast iron piping that fits down over this, a little bit taller than the ring, into that rubber mold that seals it at the bottom. I then mix up investment, it's called, which is almost like a plaster Paris, but extremely fine. If you were to get a human hair caught into it, it would even cast that human hair. That's how fine it is. You pour the investment in there, you draw a vacuum on it to get all the bubbles out, you let it set up for a little while, you turn it upside down and take that rubber mold off of it. And when you do, it's left into the investment, this little funnel shape that comes down to that little sprue that goes down to the wax ring. At that point, you let the investment set up until it dries to the right temperature. Usually I'll let that overnight. You see it starting to bubble up?
Why was it bubbling like that, boiling?
That's when you draw a vacuum on anything, on an investment. It was actually pulling the air out of the investment. Because you've got this plaster Paris stuff that you've mixed up and it's got bubbles in it. No matter what you do, you're going to have some bubbles in it. So when you draw a vacuum, you're pulling the bubbles out of it. Because if you have bubbles left into it, they'll move over to where your wax is. And later on, when you cast it, you'll have your design of your ring, and then you'll have these little beads of silver sticking out all over it, and that's where the bubbles were. No more bubbles.
Wow.
really hot. Sometimes it can even sputter out of there. But now you can see that the cherry's gone out of it. You see it shoot, bubbling out.
Oh, yeah.
I can feel it boiling from the tongs.
That's seems to be working nicer for me than the last time.
See how much
Yeah.
softer it is?
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Here's your ring. See your ring? So far so good. It looks like it all came out. Thanks to the good old boys at Airgas. It helped me get my settling back. Or at least got a hot flame, you know. And then we have the chirping of the animals in the background. Now what I did, because the top of the ring was a little heavier than that could have been because it was too hot too, but I think we just got something solid in there. But I put more sprues through it. See this one going through there? There's two more here and here.
Mm-hmm.
That was so that it would see how thin it is right here and here, and then it's thicker up here.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd have done that, then not enough of the silver would have gone down to the point. We'll have to leave this soaking now, or get the little brush out. When I get the brush out, you want me to go get the brush so you can see? This solid stuff in here and coming out here is not supposed to be there.
How solid is that? It's just
Silver.
flake? I know, but
No, you can't. Well, there goes some of it. It's not that solid, but I mean, I haven't had that happen in years. Voila. Now most people will just drop this into a tumbler, like a rock tumbler, with different grits of polishing in it, leave it for about a week and it'll just polish it all out, instead of doing it by hand. See, in the wax I was able to pull it apart and pull the pearl out and it went back together, so now I've got to move something so I can then set it in there later. Start bending a little too much though, it's not gonna. Oh, look at that.
Beautiful.
Isn't that gonna be pretty though?
It's beautiful.
It'll sit a little further down in there. Oh, that's lovely. We're so good. Okay, come back out. Come on. You can go back in later. Really. In fact, all the porosity on it is just giving it more character. It really does look like it's something that came out of the ocean. Look at that right in there. I meant to do that. Now, but after I polish on the ring, the polishing compound will just be melted into the cracks of the ring and be black. And what this does is it vibrates out like cleaning. You can clean any kind of little delicate parts depending on what you put in here. And this is just the simple green cleaner, which I find to be the best, instead of expensive jewelry cleaner. And you see the stuff being vibrated off of it. All the beads and jewelry I have are all genuine stones. Some of the pearls have been dyed, laser dyed, but everything else is natural color and natural. I just love putting it all together, making a design. I love carvings. I would carve if I could. I mean, I just can't. I used to carve into turquoise and ivory a lot, but don't do ivory anymore. I quit that years ago. Carving a bone. Ooh, and ivory palm nuts. It's true, there's an ivory palm tree, and you get these ivory palm nuts off of. And they're little nuts. They look like tiny little coconuts. But when you break them open, the consistency of the nut, it looks and feels like ivory.
And it dries well?
Yeah. Oh, a lot of stuff, for years, a lot of ivory was sold. And when they tell you it was ivory, I mean, technically it was. The ring is made of sterling silver, solid sterling silver since we cast it. The pearl is a black Tahitian pearl. Even though it's not coal black, it's almost a bronze, what they consider a peacock color Tahitian pearl. What makes the Tahitian pearl Tahitian is the fact that it's made by a blue-lipped saltwater clam that's only found in one place in the world off the coast of Tahiti, in the South Sea. You have other South Sea pearls that are not necessarily from that area nor made by that type of clam. And the South Sea pearls are only from the South Sea. But the oysters and the clams that make South Sea pearls are very temperamental. They can only live in certain temperature of water, and if that temperature changes, they die. And they can only make up to 2 to 3 pearls in their life.
So what would that ring run moderately?
You could be looking around $1,000 to $1,500 for the ring. Exquisite, isn't it? Just as though it was just plucked from the sea.